the commentary surrounding um, what we're going to talk about, Casey Lemon's Harriet, and the degree of, I mean, just how deep the feeling is against this film, and for reasons where, from what I'm seeing, people just feel it's just white supremacy BS. It just reinforces my gaze that what we get in film is just strictly BS. It's nothing aimed at black liberation, and it's not anything that attempts to satisfy the goals of black liberation.
Hey, this is Mike, and I'm with,
Charles Woods.
and we have a very special episode, emergency episode of the Real Black Podcast. It's been a while since we put up a video where there were actually more comments than views, and that was the case with the Casey Lemons interview that I posted over the weekend in support of the new film Harriet, which is, by all accounts, getting a great deal of debate within our circles on YouTube and on the internet. And I wanted to have Charles, who finally had a chance to see that film, to share a discussion on that film, as well as Black and Blue, which is in theaters as we speak, and The Legend of Dolomite, which is out now on Netflix. So, I guess starting off the top, I was taken aback, quite frankly, and I don't know if I owe anybody an apology, but certainly our Real Black family made their opinion known about this movie Harriet, and that I should have been more interrogating in terms of some of the things that they're sensitive about in the course of the interview. But and I'll get to my reasons why I stayed away from that. But first off, I mean, what were your thoughts? I mean, you were reading the comments as well, and then you had a chance to see the film, Charles.
Well, I always read the comments when I have the opportunity to do so, Mike, because I genuinely mean it when I tell the viewers that it's not about what I have to say or what you have to say. We are entitled to our opinions, but we respect and appreciate the opinions of our viewers, because I do feel we have some very smart viewers, and viewers who demand much more than what we're getting from our black artists. But the only thing I had issues with, and I had made two comments. One, pretty much to give you some kind of cover, but the other one was the fact that if you're going to have an opinion, I respect an opinion that's based on one's real experience, something in terms of an analysis that's based on something they've seen. The opinion is theirs. They're not just regurgitating someone else's opinion. And also in viewing a film, that it's got to be clear that if there are any issues they have with the film, it's based on the film itself, and it's not anything you're adding to the film spectatorship prejudiced by something you have against the artist involved.
Right, and then also, targeting the obviously I think a lot of people have a lot of anxiety and frustration whenever our stories are being told. So this outcry against, it was targeted specifically to Casey, the writer and director of the film, because of some of the things that were put into the film that were fabricated, as well as the casting, which I think a lot of people put the responsibility on her that she was the person responsible for choosing Cynthia Erivo, and I felt that was unjust because she came onto the project after the lead actress for Harriet had been cast. But there's a whole history behind this type of depiction in terms of who finances films, who gets cast in the leads, especially in these historical dramas, and the justification, of first of all, is the movie any good? So I mean, just jumping into that, you had a chance to see it yesterday afternoon. What were your initial thoughts, your primary thoughts about the movie Harriet?
Well, I mean, based on what people were expressing, I just expected so much Negrophobia in the film and so much technology that the film would be unbearable.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't find it as such. It's sort of like when I went to see a Gemini Man.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini Man took such a big hit that I said, oh, this probably would be unwatchable. And I've seen worse films, and I was mildly entertained by it, but I didn't feel it was that bad of a film. So the thing is, I was kind of wondering if I read too much of the comments, because the last thing I said is that I'm going to see the film, give my opinion, and discuss it with you. We would give our opinion of the film, and I used the words straight, no chaser, exactly
mm-hmm.
what I felt. And there were things about the film that was no different than what you would get in when Ruby Dee played the part, Cecily Tyson played the part.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it's not much different is because this film should have been made for TV. It was like an afternoon special. We used to have those shows come on afternoon
after school
specials, after school specials.
Yeah, and we have
this thing was so watered down.
We actually have after school special about the Underground Railroad on the channel, as well as the Ruby Dee interpretation of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad with her and Ossie Davis and Brock Peters. So, a lot of people have been sharing those as alternatives to paying money to see this movie in theaters. And I think it's important that people know Harriet's story regardless of who's playing the lead actress. So I was quite happy that the film exists as opposed to not existing and within this time period. But yeah, I agree. I felt generally if this movie come out a little earlier in the cycle, it might have gotten ahead of things, and I felt that as an artist, Casey Lemon certainly brought her gifts to telling the story, and it was far better than I was expecting, in the sense that we've really been ripped off in the past with some of the biopics that we've gotten of our heroes, and I can think offhand the Tupac biopic and the Nina Simone biopic were dreadful and painful experiences in the theater. So, for what it was, I mean, I felt that as an introduction to the history, it was a good film, but it wasn't. I think that the night after I saw it, I said anybody who was upset about the casting, I don't think they're going to have their opinion transformed after seeing Cynthia Erivo's performance. Like they're going to have a question of doubt of somebody else could have played this role more convincingly or better. But those were my basic notes on that. Seeing the film.
Well, I didn't think the film, as far as the acting is concerned, I thought the acting was pedestrian. To tell you the truth, Mike.
Essentially, yeah.
The guy Odom who played Still. I mean, it looked like these people were just reading their lines off pages. I didn't think the acting was good at all. I just filmed. It was interesting, but it's a TV. To me, it was, like I said, once again,
Well,
it's something that could have been on TV.
yeah.
It's aimed at a market. They say it's aimed at a market. It's for little kids. It's whitewashed. The acting was terrible in it.
Yeah, it's a PG-13 movie, so a lot of the things that we're accustomed to within the genre are actually eliminated. They're not even watered down. They're eliminated. We don't see very much violence in the film, and I think that adds to the anger that people felt in terms of Bigger Long character. And the other slave catcher. I mean, they're bookending this thing. They're not, they're painting people as very black and white. Like evil versus good, spirited versus devilish kind of thing. And so I think yeah, problematic. Well, I guess before I'll ask you this way: did you see any technology in the film?
Oh, the film's loaded with technology. You mentioned the character Bigger Long. There seems to be a great deal of dissatisfaction with this black character who's hunting slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler alert, the scene where he does something to the Janelle Monáe character. Oh man, I was incensed, really. And what happens is that I think what's really upsetting for viewers, black viewers, is that once again we get a film that is about a period in time. They call it the peculiar institution. This is like the worst slavery that ever existed in the history of mankind, because all people across the racial makeup have suffered slavery one way or another. But what blacks have had to suffer in America is just one of the most heinous, brutal experiences of all time. It's our Holocaust. And the thing is, film, when it covers this particular aspect of our history, it's always showing the brutality against us. But when we have characters who are going to revolt against it, rebel against it, that revenge thing, that catharsis is never there for us, because blacks on screen are never allowed to display the same intense vengeance, to exact the same kind of brutality that is shown against us. And many people now, they associate that with what they call white fragility. There is this white fragility, but the thing is, no matter what the makeup is of the audience, the marketplace still demands that the images that are projected on the screen cannot be those images that are going to be upsetting to white folk.
Right.
See, there's always this need to be sensitive to the feelings of white people and damn black people, no matter how much they hurt, how much it hurts them. And so that's what really irks people about when they see these kind of films. When we have the chance, the opportunity to get back, and no one's advocating violence, but let me tell you something. If like Malcolm say, I'm not going to turn my cheek and show you my other cheek. You hit me, brother. Be ready to get hit.
Right. So,
and I think if we start seeing this in film, it would be something that the message would be, look, hey, we've had enough of your BS. We're not going to take it anymore.
Right.
And we're going to give tit for tat. And if people see tit for tat, it may make them think more about how they're mistreating people and what will be the consequences. We don't get that in cinema.
Right. And it seems like the movie had a hard rule that they did not want to depict Harriet actually committing violence or killing anyone, black or white. So, Casey makes it clear in the interview we did that she saw this as a film about liberation, but I guess it's omitted. It's not really about rebellion or resistance or anything like that. It's the God that she is channeling that's leading her and her people and liberating these escaped slaves to the promised land certainly is of a Christian value system. There is no payback or tit for tat, and yeah, very frustrating to see that this bigger, spoiler alert, the bigger long character gets his comeuppance, but not at the hands of the Harriet character, any black character. It's can you speak to that a little bit in terms of, I felt like it was the same switcheroo that they did in Django in a sense.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Django, because the one question I would ask you is, if you saw two films about slavery, and many people don't even want to watch films about slavery anymore. Mm-hmm. They say they have slave fatigue. Okay, but the thing is, people say, "Yeah, I'll watch it if number one, you start making some films where you show where blacks, show what Nat Turner and his slaves did, and Gabriel Prosser and the other people who went on slave uprisings, what was happening. Give the truth of it. But the thing is, what happens is this. I use the term white fragility, but the other thing is there is this safety thing that has to be in place when they make these kind of movies. The safety factor has to be in there, and it's what we call political correctness. Mm-hmm. And the political correctness has to favor the feelings of the white audience.
Right.
So the thing is, they always create this balance. There has to be a balance. You can't have all whites look bad the same way you wouldn't want to see all blacks look bad. So they'll give us a Stephen character played by Samuel L. Jackson in Django, and you'll get this bigger, long character in Harriet. And what they provide is that if someone's going to be killed in a very heinous way, it would be very, very upsetting in this day and age to have a white person do that to the genetic Monet character.
Right.
Okay? By the same token, and think of it in terms of spectatorship, if you have Harriet's character, or even the character of, I believe it was Walter, played by Casey Lemon's son. Mm-hmm. If you have him, if he went in there and he shot the guy sitting on the commode in the outhouse.
Right.
If you had him shoot him through the head, well, now that would be very upsetting for the white audience.
Yes.
Okay. So what happens is you have, what they do is, with the political correctness, the balancing act, they have this Omar character. The same way, if you ever watched Underground, did you ever watch Underground, John Legend's Underground?
I've seen a couple of them, yeah.
Okay, well, you had a similar character. It was a character by the name of Cato, played by an actor, oh gosh, what was it? Alano Miller played a character named Cato. He had a scarred face. Mm-hmm. He was a nasty SOB, okay? So the thing is, historically, but whether blacks want to admit it or not, we had blacks who owned slaves, and we had. You remember in the Birth of a Nation, Nate Parker's Birth of a Nation, we've had a number of uprisings that were spoiled because some black folks spilled the beans.
Right. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. So they show the black characters at first as turncoats and villains and snitches, but then they bookend through the power of God. Walter actually takes on the side of the rebels. One of the things that so
let me just complete my thought, Mike.
Sure.
The thing is this. What happens is you have this Cato character whom you just detest, you hate, and he does this heinous act.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes time for Harriet to do something with that gun she's been given,
right?
She's shooting it. She's not shooting people. She's shooting Adam, or she's wounding them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a white man who kills the black character.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. I was like, oh no, not again.
And that reminds me of what happened with the Denzel Washington character in The Magnificent Seven.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the white villain was not killed by Denzel's character.
Right.
He was shot to death by the white woman.
Yes.
Same thing when Sam Jackson played Shaft. And you get this vicious racist whom he's after for the way he brutally killed the black guy in the beginning of the film. Well, he doesn't kill the guy. Who kills him?
Mm. The white guy.
The mother shoots him. The mother shoots.
So it's the same old switcheroo, trickaroo.
It's switcheroo, trickaroo, tricknology, because the thing is, someone's making these movies, and as I told you before, these movies, it's art, because this is art.
Mm-hmm.
But it's art that's compromised to meet the demands of commerce.
Right.
We got to put a product out there that has to be made to get as much consumerism as possible, because the truth hurts.
Yeah, and this is something.
And if you're going to put the truth up there on the screen, my brother, that film is going to upset a lot of people. It's going to cause a lot of controversy, and it'll be pulled out of theaters.
Right.
You don't get the truth.
So some of the other criticisms. I mean, the agency of the characters as well. Who we discussed that a little bit. Who gets to do what, and who stores it truly. One of the things I give her a plus mark on, in addition to cinematography and just like bringing her imprint to the story in terms of her body of work, as always deals with spirituality, spiritual nature, things unseen. So that's something that was very refreshing to me in the film, but also providing agency. A lot of films that deal with the Underground Railroad, they give a lot more credence to the role of the Quakers. And I thought it was very interesting that for the most part, we see black people taking control of their own destiny. Now, you could argue that the Leslie Odom character, William Still character, was presenting obstacles to Harriet's fight to liberate people as much as the white villains in the terms like, you can't do this, Harriet. You're insane. We can't put the whole thing at risk because you want to do this. You sound crazy. That and it was the other tension that was pulling at it. But for the most part, the Quaker characters, the white people, they're not taking over meetings. They're not taking voice within making decisions about the liberation of the black characters. And I thought that was unique to this film.
Well, it's not so unique now, because it goes to what I was saying before. It's a different age. Mm-hmm. Some people may attribute it to being a more progressive image.
Mm-hmm.
But you can better believe this, my brother. What we get on the screen is a consequence of what can we get away with in the context of the times. Okay, so this is by design. So someone, when they're talking about, let's say who Casey Lemons writes this piece, and then they go over it. One of the things someone's going to be conscious of, you hope, if a black is in the kitchen and they're helping cook this meal before they decide to serve it, someone's going to say, well, we got to be careful that we don't have this white savior image, because people are not going for that anymore. You saw what happened with the controversy that surrounded Green Book.
Yes.
Okay, so the thing is, so that was purposely toned down. So as a consequence, you get more of the feeling that this is, yes, black agency going on. The other thing is, you look at, in the context of the times, what are we getting more of in film?
Women
heroes, sheroes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll bring up the other film we're going to discuss, but when you look at a lot of the films that are coming out now, the heroics are by the women.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are feeling at the expense of the black male characters. I mean, one of the images that kind of threw me off. I mean, there's a lot of running up and down the fields and things like. I feel like the locations were chosen well, but it seemed like there was either a limit to the imagination or the limit in the budget, because there's a lot of, just if you can imagine how difficult it must be with no compass, no ability to read, to find your way from Maryland to Philadelphia in the dark of night with only the help of a few churches. That in its own reality is mind-boggling, how one person could do this, but a lot of the stuff is limited to showing groups of people running from behind trees into some level of safety, and there was a big moment when they finally get some shoes and they're excited about that. But towards the end of the movie, there was an image that kind of triggered me a little bit, where and correct me if I'm wrong, the tall black man who was sort of resisting her efforts to free them as a group, is he the one that ends up wearing the dress as a disguise? That kind of bothered me a little bit.
No, that looked like Walter, because remember, are you talking about where the mulatto woman played like she was white and was driving the wagon?
Once they get free, you see one of the men dressed as a woman, and that
looked like Walter.
Okay, so I was like, where'd that come
Walter,
from?
the one who was impressed and felt, like he told Harriet, I think you talk to God, and I think He answers you.
Okay, so it's not just punishment, but it was just odd. Why did they have to put that one in there, kind of thing?
Well, don't forget this person who wanted to be taken along on this escape to freedom needed a man's clothes. Where was she going to get them from? They didn't bring her an extra pair. They didn't have an extra pair of clothes for her.
Right. Okay. Well.
Okay. So they switched clothing, and not many people commented on that. That's based on an actual incident that happened where you had a mulatto couple escape to freedom by playing like white folk.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the going back and forth in this film, Harriet's going back and forth to help slaves escape.
Right.
That looked like a walk in the park, the way they depicted it.
Yeah.
There was, what about the baby? And some people feel, oh well, this thing didn't really show anything harsh against slavery. I mean, a lot of people don't listen to language. You know, when they discovered that 5 more slaves escaped off this plantation, the white lady was she was in a catalytic fit. That's $2,000. Oh my God! Oh.
Yeah,
and then when the guy tore up the lady's papers, you got the audacity to get a lawyer. Get the hell off my porch.
Right.
But when they said
you're going to be held responsible,
five people escaped, they didn't describe them as people.
Yeah.
It was referred to as bucks, and said one was foal.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say one with a baby. He said one with a foal. And there were a couple of times they were referred to as nothing. They were viewed not as people, but as animals.
Superior pets.
Huh?
Superior pets.
Yeah. So the thing is, I mean, a little here and there, but this film, is, on its own, it's a failure.
Okay.
But the thing is that people are going to condemn the film for what it failed to do as a film. But let's not get caught up in Casey Lemon wearing blonde extensions or Cynthia Erivo because of her anti-black American tweets. That's something else altogether. Like I said, if you don't want to support Cynthia Erivo for those tweets, I have no problem with that, because once John Wayne said what he had to say, I never liked the sucker anyway, but once John Wayne said what he had to say, I no longer want to see anything John Wayne was in. And once Clint Eastwood did what he did to try to embarrass Obama, I had nothing more Clint Eastwood could do that I'd want to be excited about seeing.
Right. Now, but initially it was just the casting of a British person to play an American hero, and it was the following Selma with David Oyelowo, a Brit playing Martin Luther King, and 12 Years a Slave with Chiwetel Ejiofor playing another American hero, so to speak. So I think the backlash started as far as 2 years ago when the casting was announced, and at the time I'll wait until I see the movie before I have anything to say about that. But
well, I'm so against that kind of crap. To me, that's crap.
Okay.
People may want to come after me for saying that, but that's crap.
Why so?
And I'll tell you why. Okay. Well, let me start a movement. The boycott Eddie Murphy's Coming to America, Part 2.
How dare
you? Got
you?
Away with Part 1.
How dare you, Charles?
Okay.
Wait, Eddie Murphy, why? This doesn't even make sense.
Anybody say Eddie Murphy's not African, and James L. Jones and Madge Sinclair and all the rest. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Freeman, he plays Mandela. Jennifer Hudson, she plays Winnie Mandela, along with Terrence Howard?
Mm-hmm.
And Denzel Washington, how many times has he gotten away with some foolishness? He couldn't hold an accent in The Mighty Quinn. He plays Stephen Biko. And he plays a Brit, a black Brit.
Yeah.
You know what film he played a black Brit in?
For Queen and Country.
For Queen and Country. So come on.
Well, and bring Will Smith into it. Concussion.
Will Smith, he plays this African doctor. Whoopi Goldberg, wasn't she in Serafina?
Yeah.
And Derek Luke, I know he's not African born, but he sure did catch a fire.
Facts. Okay. Yeah, but I mean,
and Ozzie Davis, years ago, Ozzie Davis did a film with Sean Connery. It was a film that made people realize how good an actor Sean Connery is. It's called The Hill. Mm-hmm. Ozzie Davis was playing a West Indian who couldn't hold an accent worth 2 cents.
Well,
and Hotel Rwanda, who was that?
Don Cheadle.
Ice Cube. What the thing did Ice Cube do? Did he not play a South African?
He plays a hood guy that goes to see his half brother in South Africa. He's there's
He's
no way he
going
was
back
going
to
to get.
South Africa,
He was no
right?
way. There's no way Ice Cube could get away with being African in that movie, but he had a connection in some respect, you know. But
And what's the name got on my nerves with with that accent he had in Higher Learning, and you know who I'm talking about.
my guy, yes,
Lawrence Fishburne.
yeah.
So let's get for real. I mean, that's just like years ago when the blaxploitation movies were coming out. They had a big problem. Do you know what the big problem was with?
I don't know. Italians, I don't remember.
Black athletes stealing all the roles from trained actors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, yeah. There's a level of xenophobia that comes into that argument.
No, it's not just xenophobia. What it is just people coming up. Sam Jackson makes a statement, then all of a sudden, everything you see, people say, "Yeah, Sam Jackson, he called it right."
Well, okay.
People are playing homosexuals now. So the question is there a homosexual agenda against black folks because of what's his name said on Oprah?
Okay, yeah, Dave Chappelle with the dress. So
okay.
It becomes part of your consciousness and your awareness.
Yeah, so what happens is it raises the consciousness. People start seeing things a lot of times where there's nothing to be seen. If it's legit, then analyze it and study it to see the legitimacy of it.
So, but representing our heroes, our ancestry, is it possible that an American actor could have done a better job in this role because they have experienced more of this type of oppression than a black Brit, so to speak, a African who grew up in Africa and was educated or trained to act in England? I mean, could they be closer because of the DNA to giving us a better performance, a more truthful performance?
Well, do I have to be a cripple to play a cripple? They're supposed to be actors.
Okay, well.
Okay, right away, homosexuals can say, I don't want another straight man playing a homosexual.
Well, yeah, well, I think a lot of people...
In other words, someone's gonna say, well, then what is acting? Why are we starting to see things and making something's problematic for the wrong reasons?
Right. Well, I don't disagree with anything you said there. The last point in terms of the criticism coming through social media about this movie, Harriet, was that by spending money to support this film, you are helping to put money into Comcast at a time when Byron Allen is trying to sue them, and they are putting basically the whole Civil Rights Act at risk because they don't want to settle with him. So you're
if you want to make problems, right? What are you talking about? The 1866 Civil Rights Act, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's legit. These suckers, they'll find any kind of way to keep the playing field from being leveled.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole thing is the way you exploit the people is you keep them from being producers. You keep them as consumers. But right away, you're going to give Byron Allen cover. He's a billionaire already. He's playing the race card the same way they accused O.J. of playing the race card when he needed to play the race card because he'd been enjoying the white life for a good portion of his life. But when things got hot, he played the race card. How many times have people, if they're going to bring up Cynthia Erivo not being a black American, that's what ADOS is, what? African descendants of slaves?
American descendants of slaves, yeah.
American, okay, of slavery. Okay, so then, you know how one guy shut Byron Allen up where he didn't want to talk no more.
Yeah. Well,
aren't you married to a white woman?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Never
And if
heard from Byron Allen
anything
again.
happens to Byron Allen, he's already a billionaire. You saw what happened to Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
What happened to his money?
Well, half of it went to his wife, his nanny.
And what the hell was she before she married him?
The nanny.
Okay, and I'm not getting into the politics of who you marry, who you love, because I mean, a lot of these people who are complaining about different things, they'll put down Harry Belafonte because of who he's married to, or how he looks. He ain't black enough. I went through that crap in Vietnam when I was over there when the Black is Beautiful movement started, and they had this whole thing what was called the Blacker Than Thou movement. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Jelani Cobb was saying, we get into this thing, this divide and conquer. They always can find ways to have us at each other's throats over some BS. It's like Jelani Cobb saying, you could never have it as tough as me. Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois, they went after it over colorism.
Yeah.
So, like Jelani Cobb saying, no, the chains that they had on me were tougher than the chains they got on you.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, and I guess that was the thing that made me the most defensive, the most disappointed in some of the comments. Everyone has a right to their opinion. Primarily, I agree with you that the fact that so many people were commenting hadn't even seen the film yet. They were just triggered by the thought. And then, personally, after suffering through Tupac and suffering through Nina Simone, I felt that Casey did a great job with the film as far as giving us something that we could introduce young people to the story. But in terms of empowerment and all that other stuff, I knew going in that I wasn't expecting that, so it didn't really bother me. And then in terms of what you're always saying, we tend to be reactionary as opposed to proactive. So my other question was, well, where was everybody had a 120-year head start on telling the story the way we're supposed to want to see it? Where was the black dollars when it came time to put this Harriet Tubman movie together? Why did Deborah Martin Chase have to go to the white distribution system and financiers to get the movie made? So, until we solve these issues, I'm just tired of complaining about lack of power when we constantly giving our power away. And I think that the amount of energy that went into this critique, is late. They're just late with it. So
my biggest problem, Mike, is this. It amazes me how critical people can be about certain works and see find all kind of faults with something, a film.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can have someone they respect do a film and they don't see something problematic with it.
Right.
Okay. And where I won't,
mm-hmm.
I can bring up two films that I would ask all these people so critical of Harriet to pay the same damn attention if they've seen the film and they find criticism with it. Go review Do the Right Thing and Black Klansman by Spike Lee and tell me if those two films didn't do a disservice to the history of black film. As I said, Do the Right Thing, there was not one positive black man in that whole damn film, with the possible exception of only one, and that's Sam Jackson's role.
Right, which is marginal. Yeah.
Okay. And the thing is, some people get a pass, but if Tarantino makes a film, well, I'm not going to see it. Jamie Foxx got upset when Django was. They talked about Django. Another slave movie. Tarantino, he uses the N word too much. But Tarantino, I find more to celebrate blackness. I mean, even our boy Bobby Dick. What was one of his favorite films?
Oh, Django, yeah.
How many times he said he saw it?
46 times.
Okay, and it's got technology in it, but it's better, bolder, blacker than anything. A lot. I mean, some people bring up Malcolm X, but that has some technology in it. There's some BS, and a whole lot of people didn't like Spike Lee for doing that. And I'm not jumping on Spike Lee, but I'm just saying some people were willing to give a pass. And yet we'll jump on Casey Lemon. Well, she's got blonde extensions. Oprah Winfrey. I told you a long time ago. Oprah and Bill Cosby. The way they were so popular is because they didn't put on black programming.
Right.
Let's be for real.
Well, time will tell. I mean, Where I'm just saying, again, as my Instagram post, where were the black dollars when the Jet magazine photo archive was being sold? Where were the black dollars when they were making the plans to do a Harriet Tubman movie? I think the minute we start taking action instead of waiting to complain, the whole thing changes. And I guess we got a couple more movies to cover. I mean, another movie that is really serious on the retribution part of things, and I feel like I felt was very entertaining and definitely delivered a catharsis, although at the expense of some other things. There's some technology in this movie, Black and Blue. I know you also had a chance to see that one. What were your thoughts?
Well, after seeing it, then it struck me.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let me just let people know. Black and Blue, because it's such a generic title. It's the movie with Tyrese and Naomi Harris, another British actress, playing an American hero in New Orleans. And basically, she's a cop. She used to be living in New Orleans. And she's in the army, and then she comes back and joins the police force. And somehow she witnesses a drug deal gone bad, and it's captured on her body cam. And now she and Tyrese have to team up to get the body cam back to the police station so that she can clear her name and get the real bad cops off the street. So that's the premise. It's Deon Taylor is a director, and Screen Gems released it about a month ago. What are your thoughts?
I liked the film. I liked it. It had suspense. Another Shiro.
Mm-hmm.
It had more pluses than minuses for me. I enjoyed it. And then it occurred to me, hey, I got to make sure my phone's not tapped. There's people stealing my ideas.
You did
how many
have some
times I told you I had an idea like that?
Well, yeah. When a long time ago. I mean, one of the reasons we have Shoot It Black, Shoot It Blue uploaded on the channels, because it at the time all that stuff was happening in Ferguson, you would hit me to the fact that a movie similar with Eric Launaville was made back in the 70s, where a young kid filmed a white cop doing something dirty, and but unfortunately at the time they made that film, it centered mostly around the dilemma of the white cop. Oh, that's something we forgot to mention. In Harriet, a lot of people felt that they turned Harriet into a bed wench. I felt like that was just a way to add more conflict to this white villain, but I didn't see anything where there was any kind of sexual tension with between Harriet and the slave owner. I feel like the critics got the criticizers got that one wrong. I didn't see any.
Well, this Gideon character.
Yeah,
you could see there was something he he had some kind of feelings for her.
Yeah, that was clear, but it never seemed
Yeah.
like it was consummated. It seemed like it was a layer of conflict. Like, hey, they even in the dialogue, they grew up together and they were friends, but now because the plantation is starting to fail and she's rebellious. I mean, and maybe it was even alluded that he might have had something to do with her getting her skull damaged. It was. I think it just was trying to give
one of
a
the
thankless
things is,
role a
like
little
I say,
more meat.
In this day and age, Mike, a lot of attention is action, 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 and people don't pay attention to dialogue anymore. Okay.
True. Yeah, that's very true.
When these people are trying to dissuade Harriet from going back, and there's this fear if she gets caught and whatnot, she's saying, you guys are comfortable with freedom.
Yes.
You're fat from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was, right quick, there's an irony in one of the scenes where it's almost where you could say it was included to kind of explain what a lot of people wanted Cynthia Erivo to do, and that's pretty much apologize. You remember when she first meets Janelle, how you pronounce it?
Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe's character, and she's looking at him. Her character knows, Buchanan, knows what she's thinking. Yes, I'm Negro, I'm a woman, this is all mine. Right. I was born free, blah. So Harriet says, you were born free? You don't know what it's like to run for your life, to be on the dodge from harm coming to you?
Right.
And what does the Monáe Buchanan character say to her?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know that.
No problem. Yeah. She says, no, I apologize.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, when Harriet tells these people, you guys are fat, you don't know what it's like, what it's like being a slave.
Right.
Especially for a black slave girl who's raped before her first blood.
Yeah.
Hey. I mean, don't tell me it didn't have some elements of where you knew the harshness of this brutal system. But the thing is, too often people are so busy looking for things to arm themselves with their harsh criticism or something that they, my favorite word is dichotomy. Not everything's all good, not everything's all bad. I mean, no, the film is not great. The film is, it's not even really a good film. I mean, but
I liked it more.
If it's aimed to bring to young people's attention a particular point in time, that's where your teachers and your family members come in to say, here's some books. This is supposed to be a trigger to get people started on reading and learning more, finding out the truth.
It's not a documentary by any stretch. And the whole time I'm watching it, I've been through the mill on these stories, so I wasn't excited about it. But what I liked was, that so much of it is still relevant in the sense that we're still fighting this mental enslavement. We're still in the process of recovering beyond these physical chains. So any opportunity to see a hero, and I know one of your favorite movies is Crown Heights. About the guy who goes and fights for 10 years to get his friend out of prison, and there's several movies coming down the pike that deal with prison reform and injustice. The Just Mercy, which was at the film festival, which Michael B. Jordan won, right? Michael B. Jordan plays a guy who goes to Harvard and then goes back down south to help free black and white criminals off of death row. So I see, for me, it's an existential extension to see that Casey Lemons is using her talent, her gift, to tell a story about liberation and freedom. I give her the credit in the world. Now, and I think that the restrictions had very little to do with Casey, and I felt like you would really hate this movie if somebody as talented as Casey was not, had a vision to do it. Because again, I've suffered. We suffered. We've all suffered, and I got my butt chewed out about the Miles Davis. So I'm not immune to the criticism. I just think that there, like you said, it's levels to it, and unless you're doing it yourself, it's somebody else's vision, and until we start putting our own money into things, we're never going to feel like we have a sense of power with this stuff. So back to Black and Blue. I agree with you. I had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't expecting it to be as entertaining as it was. It just held my interest the entire time. I like the performances for the most part. Again, British actress trying to do the New Orleans accent. I wasn't quite sold on it, but I like the chemistry between Tyrese and...
You're talking about Naomi Harris?
Naomi Harris. And the fact that they kind of made it platonic. I felt like they were playing both sides of that relationship. They were... it didn't turn into anything sexual, so it was an interesting way to frame her character, so that I thought that was very interesting.
You just mentioned, I guess another Brit playing American Black role, as they would say.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, as I said before, I'm going to add on to what I was saying before about this finding fault because of this, because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Idris Elba.
Okay.
How many people went on to more roles, feature film roles, came off the wire?
Many.
And how many knew that Idris Elba was not American Black?
At the time the show was on,
yes.
I think it came as a complete shock when they started talking to him. Talking about
no
him.
one had an issue with it because they didn't know a damn thing. When he went to test out for the part, they told him, don't use your natural accent.
Stringer Bell.
Okay? It reminds me of I'm watching a movie and these guys are eating that just before, as I said, that they've been captured by the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting ready to be killed, but they're being fed. And the guy said, "Damn, they sure make some good chicken here." The guy said, "How you enjoying it?" "Yeah." He said, "That's not chicken. It's what?" "And that's rat meat." "What?" And he spits it out.
Mm.
You get my point?
Yeah.
It was good while he thought it was chicken.
Yeah.
Well, when somebody tells him it's rat meat, then all of a sudden he can't stand it.
So the last movie I wanted to talk to you with last movie I wanted to talk with you about, Charles, is the new Eddie Murphy movie, The Legend of Dolomite, which is on Netflix. It's a global hit. It's Eddie's first movie for Netflix, and it's his first comedy in nearly 10 years, I think 8 or 9 years since Tower Heist. I know you had a chance to see it. What were your thoughts?
I enjoyed it, but I thought it was going to be belly laughs galore.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there was no way that was going to happen. You know why? Because there's only one Rudy Ray Moore. You can't top him.
Mother. But you got to give them credit because they put a lot of time and effort into getting the clothes right and the costumes and all that cheesy 70s bad acting and the ensemble cast and all that stuff. I mean,
what was interesting is Eddie is a great mimic, but he did not go for the same voice or anything like that. He didn't do the effeminate mannerisms or anything. He didn't want no parts of that because that's a whole nother issue. Right. That's why he turned down the Little Richard story. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it was okay. But I had one big problem with the film.
Mm-hmm.
from the trailers, I just couldn't wait to see Wesley Snipes as Dervell Martin.
Hmm.
But having seen, I didn't like the way he played Dervell Martin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt like he was the only one hamming it up.
Oh
Everybody
my
else
God!
was locked into their characters and they were playing things truthfully. He was the only person that was making you aware that you're watching the movie. He kind of took me out of the movie. But a lot of people are saying, "Wow, I think he stole the movie." So, I mean, I think one thing about Eddie Murphy, he can bring a lot of great talent together and get them on their A game. So I like the ensemble cast. I like the costumes. I felt that it I saw it in the theater first and I watched it on Netflix. I felt like it was almost worth the theater experience. I mean, for Netflix, this is one of the best Netflix movies I've ever seen because most of the time you got to turn those chumpies off 8, 9 times before you get through them all. But this one I could watch straight through and will probably watch again and again. So, but yeah, it's very hard, when somebody as gifted and legendary as Eddie Murphy announces he's going to have a film come out. I think the expectation is going to be very high, So I don't know, but I
But
won't
you may
disagree.
not see the other movie he's supposed to release,
Which is,
Coming to America Part Two.
yeah, that I'm a little worried about. Everybody's
Because
saying the
I'm
script is.
starting a boycott. I told you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, remind people about this issue here that Charles Woods has with Eddie Murphy, Coming to America Part Two, just in case.
And let me be clear about this. Some people say, "Oh, he making light of our stuff," uh, um,
And police are
ADOS
coming after
and
you now.
the
Mm.
Comcast issue. No, I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying we have to be careful when we go after certain things. We have to make sure that we bring to our we have to make sure that what we're complaining about is a legitimate issue. Too often people they get all in a sweat over something that's not really there. I saw this guy try to defend himself on something, the co-founder of ADOS,
Hmm.
and he didn't make sense at all. Maybe in a different
Yeah.
time he could make more sense, but he didn't make any sense to me. His argument was weak.
Yeah. Well, have to. I just don't have the energy to read and listen to all of that stuff. So if anybody was offended that I didn't ask more pointed questions, because I legitimately, for what the movie was doing, I enjoyed the movie. I have a great deal of respect for the filmmaker, and uh, I was very aware of the criticism going in. But after experiencing the film, I didn't feel it as badly as some people might. But I think that also goes into your gaze and your expectation. And I think Charles and I have long digested the idea that these movies are reactionary and reinforce the status quo. And I've been disappointed many, many times by black heroes being depicted in biopics and unnecessary remakes of classic black films that I kind of went in with my guard up a little bit. But we understand what the dynamics are, and I would say, Charles, in addition to what you're saying in terms of what we choose to be aware of, also the agendas of the people running these movements, and I think to me it does feel like a more of a divide and conquer. People are constantly questioning some of the videos that are posted when they don't relate directly to African American experience. This is a global thing, and you know this whole concept of minority, that's some bullshit that we buy into as well. I mean, if you just look at all the oppressed people, I mean, I think that's what ultimately got Malcolm X killed and Martin Luther King killed, was when they were trying to unite the oppressed views and make people aware of the bigger picture, that's when they became problematic to this country and this society. So I try not to be a big joiner when it comes to those things, but try to think for myself and look at the bigger picture and the agenda of what this American descendants of slaves is. I'm all for reparations, but I think that for me, what our mission seems to be about is just trying to enlighten people in terms of showing how so much of the past is repeated. And when I look at a movie like Harriet, I look at it through the lens of we're still enslaved. It's just a mental game now. It's not just a physical thing. And what can we do to help liberate one another? And when I look at a movie like Black and Blue, I feel that the retribution is there. If the catharsis is needed, I felt the technology was okay. Is to get justice against one crooked white cop, we've got to witness 15 black anonymous people be slain. And that bothered me a little bit. But overall, the film was entertaining. And Legend of Dolomite, I couldn't wait for that one. It's going to be one of my classics. If I'm bored, I have something I can go back to, and I'm not sure if I'm down for your boycott yet, but let's entertain that one in the comments section. Should we boycott Coming to America 2? Real Black Family? Should we start a hashtag movement against?
The other thing is,
Black American actors playing Africans?
Let's be real now. Let's be real, brother. He's got African, and he got a white wife. Let's bring it all out there, brother.
All right. Hey, Yvette Carnell, are you listening? Are we gonna start this? People, are we gonna go against Eddie, or we just want to feel good and laugh and can't wait to see him bring back all those characters? It was too long for him to be away.
And Eddie Murphy, when he made movies, he didn't make no black movies.
Okay.
Okay, and everybody went buck wild over Panther, Wakanda.
Oh, I mean that's
how much
another
technology was in that.
That's another. We tend to invest ourselves in symbolism.
What happens, Mike? What happens is this. I told you. You're gonna criticize something. Well, whatever you seeing wrong with this, bring that same gaze to something else. Be consistent. If you can't be consistent, then get out the game.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that we close. The hypocrisy of the democracy. The white supremacy is founded on divide and conquer. So what are we doing when we are criticizing one another in public about these works of art and commerce that are basically financed by white the mainstream corporations to serve their agenda? Why are we even looking at this stuff and expecting it to speak to us specifically?
Right quick, Mike.
Yes, sir. Final thoughts.
Black and blue.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
The black cop. What did he say?
You're one of us now.
You're not black anymore. You're blue.
Yeah.
Okay? The hate you give. Black cop in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Ice Cube's movie, Charlie Barnett's, what's his name's movie?
The Glass Shield. Yeah.
Glass Shield?
Well, that's the best one, but go ahead.
Okay. So the thing is this: we see these same tropes. They keep bringing them back and forth. There's a message. It's divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
If you say you want black cops in your neighborhood instead of white cops in your neighborhood, Well, you don't want no black cop in your neighborhood who's going to treat you the same way a white cop would.
Yeah.
What did Janelle Monáe say to Bigger Long? She called him a traitor.
Yeah.
Okay, traitor. Traitor means you ain't with the program. It's divide and conquer. All right, and there are all kind of ways. Right now, when the thing that has to be looked at with the controversy that's surrounding Harriet is that for the most part, you have black folk attacking black folk over the content and the methodology of how a film was made. But they're attacking, blacks are attacking each other.
Essentially, and that's the problem I see. If we're going to do this, then we need to be solution minded, not just wait for things to happen and then complain. So, I'm all for black empowerment, black ownership, and that's another question. Where was Byron Allen when all this talk of making Harriet Tubman was he short that week? Where's the black owned version of some of these hero stories? I think we're gonna be waiting a long time for this Coretta Scott movie, if you ask me, but time will tell. All right, I appreciate you, Charles, and
My brother.
watch out. We got some big announcements coming, family, but it was far too long since we did one of these. But again, this was an emergency. We never had this much talk around one video.
Well, in closing, I want to say, we don't have to always agree, but we don't need to be disagreeable. Let's respect each other. I respect our black viewers. They are woke. Boy, are they woke. And to the real black family, peace and blessings.